By the early 1800s, New York is already restless. Not grand yet. Not orderly, but alert. The city feels like it is leaning forward, testing its weight against the edge of the continent. Ships crowd the harbor. Streets strain to hold their numbers. Everything smells faintly of salt, wood, smoke, and ambition. What interests me here is not what New York will become, but how it works at this moment, and what it feels like to live inside a place that is growing faster than it understands itself. I'm Marcus, and in this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, maps, engravings, and prints to life, allowing us to shift perspective, change scale, and move through the same scenes in ways their original artists never could. The first place I want to start is at the water's edge. The harbour. The harbour is the city's true front door. By around 1805, masts crowd the skyline so tightly that they blur together. Merchant ships from the Caribbean, Europe, and coastal America press in close, unloading sugar, rum, timber, and people. The water is never still. Small boats dart between hulls. Dock workers shout, curse, laugh. This view shows wharves built quickly, often poorly. Wood stacked against wood. Ropes soaked in salt. Barrels rolling underfoot. Fire is a constant risk here. One spark could travel the length of the waterfront in minutes. What becomes clear is how exposed the city is. Everything valuable arrives through this narrow edge. Everything dangerous does too. Disease, rumour, foreign wars carried by sailors who have seen more of the world than most residents ever will. From here, the city pulls inward. South Street and the working waterfront, a short walk north, brings us along South Street, running parallel to the docks. This is labour made visible. Taverns open early. Boarding houses never truly close. Horses strain against carts heavy with goods that must move quickly before they spoil or are stolen. The street is narrow. Buildings lean forward, blocking light. Drainage is poor. In summer, contemporary accounts describe the smell as overwhelming. Fish, waste, damp wood. The physical closeness matters. Crowding accelerates everything. Trade, gossip, illness. Yellow fever outbreaks earlier in the century taught New Yorkers that density has a cost. Streets like this taught them again. And yet, the city keeps compressing itself toward the water. Wall Street. Just inland, the tone changes. Wall Street in the early 1800s is still short, still manageable. The wall itself is gone, but the name remains, a memory of boundaries already erased. This view shows a street quieter than the docks, but heavier with consequence. Merchants step carefully here. Paper matters more than muscle. Deals are spoken softly. Trust is provisional. In 1792, brokers gathered under a buttonwood tree nearby, forming what will become the New York Stock Exchange. By the 1800s, the habit has hardened. Capital is learning to circulate independently of ships and warehouses. The street's narrowness creates intimacy. Everyone sees everyone else. Reputation travels faster than money. From here, we move north, where the city begins to fray. Broadway stretches like a spine through early New York. By the 1810s, it is already doing too much work. Carriages, pedestrians, animals, carts, all competing for space. This view shows a street trying to be ceremonial and practical at the same time. Shops display imported goods in windows. Churches sit beside theatres. Fashion and faith share the same dust. The width of Broadway makes it feel safer, more breathable, but it also becomes a stage. Class difference is visible here. Who walks, who rides, who steps aside. Movement along Broadway teaches residents how to read one another. Clothing becomes language. Pace becomes signal. Further east, the lessons are harsher. The 5 Points. As we move into the 5 Points district, the city tightens again. Formed by intersecting streets over filled-in ponds, this area drains poorly. Buildings sink unevenly. Cellars flood. Sunlight struggles to reach ground level. This view shows density pushed past comfort. Immigrants crowd into subdivided houses. Rooms are rented by the corner. Privacy dissolves. What becomes clear here is the consequence of geography. Poor drainage leads to standing water. Standing water breeds disease. Disease feeds fear. Fear hardens class lines. By the 1820s, 5 Points will become shorthand for urban danger. But at this moment, it is simply people trying to survive where land was cheapest. The city does not stop growing because of places like this. It grows through them. Residential streets. Uptown. Walking north again, the air shifts. Residential streets above Canal Street feel tentative, as though the city is rehearsing a future version of itself. Brick replaces wood. Homes gain small yards. Noise thins out. This view shows families attempting stability. Children play close to home. Shopkeepers live above their stores. Evening brings lamps, not torches. Street width matters here. More space allows cleaner air, slower spread of illness, a sense, however fragile, of control. The city is learning that design shapes behavior, but it hasn't committed yet. City Hall Park. At City Hall Park, the idea of order finally asserts itself. The building, completed in 1812, mixes styles, federal restraint with flashes of ambition. It faces south, toward the older city, as if supervising what came before. This view shows open space used deliberately. Meetings gather here, protests too. The park acts as a pressure valve. What becomes clear is how rare this openness is. Green space slows people down. It changes how voices carry. It gives the city a pause it rarely allows itself. But pause is temporary. The grid begins. Moving further north, we encounter the future under construction. In 1811, commissioners approved the grid plan that would reshape Manhattan. At this point, it exists mostly on paper and in surveyors' stakes, driven into uneven ground. This view shows disruption without immediate payoff. Roads cut through farms. Property lines dissolve. Landowners argue. Laborers dig and fill endlessly. The human cost is quiet but real. Injuries, exhaustion, years of noise and dust. But the consequence is clarity. The grid makes growth predictable. Predictability attracts investment. Investment accelerates expansion. The city chooses momentum over memory. Infrastructure and water. As population swells, water becomes a crisis. Wells grow contaminated. Disease spreads. By the 1830s, the need for a reliable supply becomes unavoidable, leading eventually to the Croton Aqueduct. Even before construction begins, the absence is felt. This view shows barrels, pumps, queues. Water carried by hand. Inequality measured in distance from a clean source. The physical effort of survival shapes daily routines. Time spent hauling water is time not spent earning. Infrastructure, or its absence, decides who advances and who stalls. The edge of the island. Near the northern edge of development, the city thins into fields and rocky ground. This view shows hesitation. The land rises unevenly. Roads fade into paths. The city has not decided how far it will go. And yet, markers are already planted. Survey lines ignore hills. Streets are promised where no one yet walks. What becomes clear here is confidence bordering on arrogance. New York assumes its future will arrive and plans accordingly. As we step back from this walk, what stays with me is how close this city feels. Not distant, not mythic, but immediate. The streets, the smells, the compromises, they are familiar. We still build too fast, still underestimate consequences, still trust that solutions will appear just in time. If you'd like to support the continuation of these careful reconstructions, subscribing helps make that possible. And if there's another city, period, or overlooked moment you'd like to walk through together, leave it in the comments. Thank you for spending this time with me.